Hi, my name is Randy Smeganovich, and this is my presentation on the graphic novel The Old Guard, Book 1, Opening Fire. The Old Guard is a story about a group of immortals. They're essentially warriors from across the ages who are taking on whatever work that they can, just essentially trying to do whatever they think is right at the time. They're led by Andy, and the team includes Nikki, Joe, and Booker, and with the addition of Nile, which occurs in this book. And here we can see our creative team. It was written by Greg Rucka. The art and cover were done by Leandro Fernandez. The colors were done by Daniela Miwa. The lettering was done by Jody Wynn. It was edited by Alejandro Arbana, and the publication design was done by Eric Trotman. And it was published by Image Comics in 2020. So book 1 is 184 pages. It's not exactly a genuine graphic novel. It's actually a compilation of series 1 through 5. And they're set up in this book as chapters, chapter 1 through 5. What I think is one thing that's really cool is there's quotes for each chapter. They kind of start them all off with quotes. And my favorite is the one on the very end by Glenn Cook. Soldiers live and wonder why. So looking at the 3-act structure for the whole book, the initial short-term goal of the team is to save some kidnapped school children. And it's apparent from their discussion that missions like these are their primary line of work and that they try to avoid being recognized by anyone due to their immortality. So they're very particular about what jobs they take and making sure that they don't stay familiar to people for too long or do any kind of repeat work where somebody may recognize them over the years. The goal changes slightly by page 34 when the team discovers that they were actually set up by the man who hired them, the former CIA agent Copley. That's when the conflict comes in because the team now has to find Copley to stop him from exposing them because it turned out the job was a setup to capture their immortality on camera. So this is also when an additional situation arises where they discover a new immortal by the name of Nile. So they have to simultaneously retrieve and introduce Nile while going after Copley to prevent their identities from being compromised. The conflict increases when some of the team members are captured and a betrayal occurs within the team. And with the discovery that Copley was employed by a man who is wanting to use the team as lab rats. The resolution occurs primarily on page 180, with the man who hired Copley being stopped, and the remaining pages cover how the team chooses to handle the betrayal from within inside the team. The primary character is the boss of the team, Andy. She's also the oldest immortal at over 6,000 years old. She comes off as kind of hardened and somewhat bitter in the beginning after so many years as an immortal and having lost so many people. But character arc-wise, she does have something of one after meeting Nile, as though having a new immortal reminds her that she has something to live for. Story arc-wise, I would absolutely say that this book has a very solid one. It starts off with incredibly intriguing characters. There are very brief backstories, but they're all very relevant to the personality and motivations of the characters. And the whole thing just comes together really nicely. There's lots of steady, interesting, and unpredictable conflict that occurs once the initial goal kind of moves, the goalpost moves, as the conflict continues. And then the ending and resolution were fantastic in that it wasn't just a matter of stopping the bad guy, but also kind of seeing where the characters were going to kind of go from there, not only with the new team member that was introduced, but with the betrayal that occurred within the team, and also some of the not exactly redemption, but kind of changes to two of the most hardened characters that kind of occurred with the addition of the new team member and all of the things that occurred in the book. So you can kind of see some reflection from those two characters, despite living for thousands of years. And so it's really motivating to continue to the next book to kind of see how that develops. The transitions are primarily subject to subject, so we get to see a lot of different views of the action that all work together to kind of draw the reader into the story. I particularly like this page where we see Andy going down this stairwell, and it might be hard to kind of tell what she's doing if we didn't have this little close up here. And then, you see her continue on, and there's these kind of like jigsaw puzzle type pieces where they kind of draw in on the detail as she's descending the stairs. The directional flow is also excellent, especially for how much action there is happening on the pages. There are several double page spreads, which can throw you off a bit when it transitions back to a single page, but my favorite is this puzzle piece kind of style for some of the action pieces. I would absolutely recommend this to my classmates just because there's so much detail and action occurring all at once, and it's incredible to see it all come together like this. And we also get to see a good bit into each character's different personalities. The characters are all very well rounded, so they're not just like surface characters that are just helping the main character move along. Each one has their own distinct sort of personality and backstory and kind of motivations that can be seen throughout the story. I would absolutely recommend this to my friends as well, anyone who enjoys comics, really, since this one has been my favorite one so far. I like that it has a really strong female lead character and that it portrays the team not so much as these perfect superheroes, but as ordinary people who are pretty much just trying to do their best in a world, in the world in general, and they just happen to have this additional ability. The writer, Greg Rucka, has actually said that the inspiration for the Old Guard was rooted in legends about soldiers who would appear on battlefields where they were needed and never died.